familiar faces and some new faces. And so glad that we can be together, and hope everyone has had a good Thanksgiving and enjoyable, ate wisely and well, ate and drank wisely and well, and you know, we're able to have an enjoyable time in the midst of obviously in the midst of the pandemic and all the challenges of being together with loved ones in this time. So I'm just looking at folks as I think Pat mentioned, and if you would like to do so, you could put your name and where you're joining us from today. We have folks from outside of our area. Just mention some of those. Kerry Mera, welcome back from New Jersey, and Elena from Edmonton, Canada. And Melinda in Vermont. Stephanie, welcome. Stephanie in Naples, Florida. And Gretchen in New York City and in Colorado. Lovely to have folks from so many places. Denise in Albuquerque, welcome. Collins in Walnut Creek, California. Welcome. And Georgine in Vienna, Austria. Great to see you too. Charlotte in New York. Jackie's still in Maine. Hi, Jackie. Good to see you. And am I missing? Jeff and Betsy in Lakeside, Michigan. Good to see you. And Peggy in Rockville, you're not too far away, but welcome as well. And Bill with us, good to see you, Bill. I'm not sure if Bill can hear us. Let's see, Steph in Pittsburgh, good to see you. And Patricia in St. Petersburg, Florida, right? Rather than, yes, not in Russia. And Betty and Joe in Charlottesville. So, and welcome to all of those in more close to the DC areas, Maryland, Virginia, DC. Welcome to you all. I'm Hugh Byrne, and I teach here with the Insight Meditation Community of Washington, IMCW, and as part of our community here at the Center for Mindful Living, which has its physical location in Tenleytown, DC, and not widely used at the moment for obvious reasons, but hopefully in the coming months we'll be able to be together in person. Hopefully the vaccines will help us move in that direction, although it may well be the middle of the year before we fully get, middle later in the year, fully back together again in person. In the meantime, as I've shared often, I'm really grateful that we have this way of connecting through Zoom with so many folks. I mean, folks we wouldn't be able to get together even if, for those close by. And then we have the additional thing of having folks from farther away who wouldn't be able to join us in person, who can join us in this way, and we can see each other as well as hear each other's and practice together. So as we, at this time of Thanksgiving, and in keeping with this theme of the time and what I'll be speaking about today of gratitude, just really appreciating us having this opportunity to to be together and practice together. So last week, if you were with us, I spoke about, I talked about the challenging time that we're living in, and how in these times a lot of difficult emotions and mind states can come up, from anxiety and worry and fear, anger, a lot of division right now, as we know, with the elections, and even still continuing, obviously, through this period of the lame duck, and kind of moving into the new year, and the new administration coming in 50 some days. A lot of things coming up, maybe, hope as well, maybe some feeling of possibility. But a lot of challenging emotions can come up and do come up. And I spoke last week about how our practice provides resources for us that can be a powerful support in these times, and in other times, in all times. Excuse me. And I was speaking about how we can kind of shift out of difficult mind states. And I talked about 3 particular practices that can be helpful in these times. One is the practice of awareness itself. How we can shift from reactivity, from being caught up in our habitual mind states and emotions, and how the simple practice of just being aware of our experience and being curious about our experience actually is a kind of a game changer for us. Because, rather than being swept up in a strong emotion, for example, we're angry about something. I often share the story about the kind of a short thing of somebody galloping along on a horse. The horse is going at full speed, and somebody shouts out to the rider, "Where are you going?" And the rider shouts back, "Don't ask me, ask the horse." And I think of that story when I think of how we can be caught up in strong emotions and mind states. And when we are, it's like the horse that's in charge rather than ourselves. We're being swept along by our thoughts and by our emotions. And we're not really in the driver's seat, in those times. We're caught up in fear and anxiety. Sometimes our thoughts of our worries, oh, this can happen. Oh, but what about if he does that? And we can get caught up in that, and it can be very, very afflictive, very painful. So just to come back into awareness and say, okay, what am I noticing? What am I experiencing right now? And as I'm speaking, as I'm sharing these reflections, you might just check in with your own experience right now. What are you aware of in the body? How's the body feel? What's going on? Is there a mood or emotions or mind states that are present right now? Are you feeling restless? Are you feeling frustrated or annoyed, or tired, and just notice that, how the mind is. So this just simple practice of awareness is such a powerful one, to be able to step out of particular states of mind and emotions, particularly when we are caught up in them, and just say, okay, what am I noticing? What am I aware of right now? And can I just be here with this? Can I meet this with kindness? And in doing that, we've really shifted our experience. I spoke a little last time as well about how we can move from self-judgment and really not being aware of ourselves and our own, perhaps even our own needs, into self-compassion, particularly from self-judgment, because a lot of the time when we're experiencing difficulties, one form that those, difficult mind states can take is that we're criticizing ourselves, or we're judging ourselves, for what we're doing or what we're not doing. And that can be quite painful. Things aren't going the way we want them to, and we beat ourselves up about it. Oh, I should have done this. Oh, I shouldn't do this. Or I'm always doing this. And how we can, with awareness, we can just shift from that mode of like judging, criticizing, beating ourselves up, into being kind to ourselves, and how powerful the practice of self-compassion is to help us as a resource, particularly when we're caught up in judgment and criticism. And so I'm going to talk about that at more length. But what I wanted to focus on today was a third of these resources, and that is how we can shift from being caught up in either the busyness of our lives, or caught up in what's wrong or what we don't have and what we need, kind of externally focused. I need this, I want to change this, I don't like this. And how painful that can be, when we are, sometimes it could be craving, or it could be addiction. I need this, I want this, feeling that we've got to have something, we got to get something, or we got to change something. I don't like this, I don't want this, I don't want to be feeling this. And how painful that can be, how difficult it can be. And what a powerful practice it can be to just come back to our experience and reflect on and connect with what we already have. So much of our suffering is obviously comes from clinging, it comes from wanting things that we don't have, or wanting things that we do have to change, aversion, resistance to our experience. So I want to focus today on gratitude, which I find to be one of the most powerful practices for cultivating well-being and happiness, as well as helping us untangle ourselves from difficult emotions and mind states. Let's say we're caught up in anger, angry about something. Just if we shift from that to say, okay, let me reflect for a moment on what I'm grateful for, what I already have. And it can happen, we can do it with almost any mind state or emotion that's difficult. We can come back and say, okay, what do I have? What do I have to be grateful for? And it's a way of connecting ourselves with what we already have, connecting ourselves with others, connecting ourselves with life, with nature, with life itself. I'm interested how many folks actually have a regular practice of mindfulness. And this is something you feel free to share, in the chat box, whether you have a practice of mindfulness, of gratitude, a specific practice of cultivating gratitude, say on a daily basis or on a regular basis, checking in with yourself, at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, consciously maybe writing a letter of gratitude to somebody who, has been good to you, has supported you, etc. I'd be interested in I know a lot of people include gratitude in their practice. One of the things I would encourage, from today is if this isn't an area that you've explored a lot, it's an area that I find has a huge potential for enhancing our lives in many different ways. And just that shifting from the kind of what we need or what we don't have or what we don't like to what we have is, you know, as I said earlier, I find a kind of game changer. It's something that makes such a profound shift in our awareness that and it's really supportive of well-being and happiness. Gratitude is connected extremely closely with happiness. The more we cultivate gratitude, the more we deepen and develop happiness. And it's simply, you know, what do we mean by gratitude? Simply being thankful for what we've received, what we already have. Robert Emmons, who's a researcher and writer, one of the leading researchers and writers, I think he's at University of California, Irvine, or maybe Riverside. He talks about gratitude as a felt sense of wonder, thankfulness, and appreciation for life. A felt sense of wonder, thankfulness, and appreciation for life. So gratitude encompasses everything in life that we're grateful for, and all the specific things that we can be grateful for, or that we are grateful for. The more we incorporate gratitude into our life, the more benefits we'll experience. Here are some of the ways that gratitude boosts happiness. And this is from some of the things that Robert Emmons and his research, and also her name's escaping me, who writes on happiness. Russian name will come back to me in a moment. In fact, I have it handy by. But just some of the ways gratitude boosts happiness. It promotes the savoring of positive experiences. It helps us really enjoy and take in and savor the good things that we have. It bolsters our self-worth and self-esteem because we're focusing on what we have, you know, and what we appreciate. One of the things, and I'll say this and, you know, mention this a few times, and, you know, it's important to emphasize, it helps us deal with stress and with trauma. You know, helps us deal with the difficulties and challenges of our lives. It also encourages moral behavior, you know, by paying attention to what we have in our lives. It helps us to live more skillfully, more ethically, more morally. It helps us strengthen relationships and build new relationships. It's incompatible with negative emotions or afflictive emotions. You know, we can't experience anger or hatred or blame at the same time as we're experiencing gratitude. Think about it. You know, if you're being caught up in anger, that's where your mind is. You're not grateful. And similarly, if you're grateful, you can't be really caught up in anger at the same time, or you know, blame, judgment, because where the mind is, it's appreciating what we have, what we're thankful for. That's where the mind is going. If you incline the mind towards wholesome states, they're not going to be caught up in unwholesome states, you know, blame, hatred, anger, etc. So this is one of the key benefits of mindfulness, is it kind of neutralizes negative and afflictive states of mind and states of heart. Gratitude, also the extensive research on gratitude shows that it leads to more energy, more alertness, more vigor, helps us achieve our personal goals. As I've said, helps us cope with stress and trauma. It helps, it leads to generosity and helpfulness. So the consciously cultivating gratitude has enormous a number of other benefits as well. It leads to better cardiac health. Would you have thought that? You know, helps with our better heart health. Gives us a greater sense of purpose. Also, just some specific, it helps people recover more quickly from illness. Helps people enjoy more robust physical health. Here are some very specific things. People are 25% happier if they keep a mindfulness journal. 25% happier. They also sleep half an hour more at night if they keep a happiness journal. And the bonus, they exercise 33% more each week compared with those not keeping a gratitude journal. So begin to keep a gratitude journal, you know, noting things in your life that you're grateful for. And there's a good possibility that you may find yourself exercising more than you did, sleeping better, and feeling happier. So many, many benefits of gratitude. And some other things about gratitude to note. Gratitude is always available to us. You know, like mindfulness, like, you know, coming into awareness of our experience, coming into awareness of what we are thankful for, what we appreciate, what we're grateful for, is always possible. It just requires a kind of a shift in our awareness, a changing of the channel, as it were. You know, it just requires, if you like, remembering to be grateful. I said when we do change the channel, we can neutralize negative, painful states that we've been experiencing. Because what we're doing is we're choosing to pay attention to what we have rather than what we lack or what we don't like. And the more that we cultivate gratitude, the more we incline our mind in a way that supports happiness and well-being. And it supports more gratitude. The more we practice it, the more grateful we become. The more gratitude becomes this kind of almost a default quality of the heart and the mind. In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the monks and nuns offer prayers of gratitude for the suffering they've been given. They're grateful for the suffering. Grant that I might have enough suffering to awaken in me the deepest possible compassion and wisdom. That's a prayer in the Tibetan tradition. Grant that I might have enough suffering to awaken in me the deepest possible compassion and wisdom. One writer on gratitude speaks about it as like a flashlight. This is MJ Ryan, who wrote the book, Attitudes of Gratitude. Gratitude is like a flashlight. It's like it lights up what is already there. You don't necessarily have anything more or different, but suddenly you can actually see what is. And because you can see, you no longer take it for granted. So I like that image of a flashlight shining the light on what's already here. And like anything else, if we don't cultivate, it's like a muscle that if we don't use the muscle will tend to atrophy. In the same way, if we don't cultivate gratitude, if we don't consciously bring into awareness our appreciation for what we have, we will tend to default to being, taking for granted, taking things for granted, taking life for granted, and that can lead to a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of that kind of privilege of like, there's a word. What's the word I'm thinking of? Put it in the chat box. We think we deserve everything we have. I don't need to have gratitude for what I have. There's a lovely poem, one of Mary Oliver's perhaps one of her shortest poems, The Uses of Sorrow. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. So the difficulties, the box of darkness can be the gift, it can be the thing that we can be grateful for too. So really everything in our life can be a source of gratitude. As with that Tibetan prayer, our suffering, think of the lessons that we've learned and the things that we've gained, not always, but if there's enough insight, enough mindfulness, enough wisdom, we can learn from the painful things in our lives. We can grow from them. Hopefully we have grown from things that we've done that we know didn't serve us, then that caused us suffering, maybe caused other people suffering as well. And we can say, I wish maybe I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't lived in that way, but may I at least learn the lesson from that, not to do it again, and to be compassionate, to be kind where I maybe was cruel or unthinking or unconscious in the past. Marty Seligman, who's the founder of positive psychology approach and practice, studied people who considered themselves severely depressed, and they were asked to write down 3 good things that happened to them for 15 days. 3 good things every day for 15 days. And 94% reported a decrease in depression. And 92% said their happiness had increased just for 15 days. As many of you know, I've an area of strong interest for me is habits and habit change. And I've written a couple of books on mindfulness and habit change. And one of the things that, a practice like this of just doing something like, for 15 days, I'm going to write down, maybe at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day or both, 3 things that I'm grateful for, and do this for 15 days. What happens is at the end of the 15 days, not only are you likely to have, you know, experienced some change in your sense of well-being and happiness, but you will likely be on the way to cultivating a new healthy habit of, in this case, of gratitude. It could be another kind of habit. And, you know, I began a habit about 8 months ago of listening to a Dharma talk every day on a walk that I do. And that helped me. And I'm up in the 200s now, but it helped me both, you know, be sure that for an hour a day, I listened to a talk and help me in my own reflections, my own practice, and also encourage me to walk, even if, you know, it might not be the warmest of days. And so I'm putting a plug in here both for gratitude and for habit change by repeating things often enough. You know, even 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we begin to, it becomes easier to do. And I noticed that habit for myself, that habit of listening to a talk every day. You know, after a week or a couple of weeks, it began to become more of a habit. At first I had to, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'd write it down to do this. But after a while, it became second nature. You know, it became just something that I did. And now I don't even think about it. You know, I go out for a walk every day. I have my phone with the talks on, and I'll listen to a new talk, you know. And in the same way, I really encourage you, both in terms of the gratitude practice, if you don't already have a gratitude practice, and in terms of other habits as well. Just that repetition makes all the difference in the world, because our mind wants to make things simple. You know, our brain wants to make things simple. You know, it's much more, we use up much more energy in our brain and get tired if we have to think of, you know, oh, how do I do this? You know, or whether I do this. And so making things easier by repetition, you know, think of getting in a car and putting on a seatbelt. We don't have to think of about that every time we drive, hopefully. So repetition, and particularly today in the area of gratitude. And at this time of the time of Thanksgiving, which, you know, I didn't grow up with it, as, you know, I grew up in the UK, and it's not a, you know, it's not a formal, you know, holiday and a time to invite gratitude. But I've lived here for over 40 years now, and it's one of the holidays that I feel grateful for. And I know, you know, it has its complexity certainly as well, like everything in the American history, that I know there's the wonderful hopes and aspirations, but there's a lot of the pain as well. You know, the pain of slavery and Jim Crow, and the pains of the, you know, how what the Thanksgiving holiday came from, and the treatment of the indigenous people of the country, of this country, and of the Americas as a whole. And holding all that in awareness, and at the same time appreciating the something really, really wholesome about this holiday, this kind of invitation to reflect on gratitude. So with that, what I'd like to do is invite us into a meditation, and this will be a kind of beginning meditation for today, and we'll incorporate a practice on gratitude. So I'd invite you to just come into a very relaxed and comfortable posture, sitting down, lying down if that's more comfortable. You could do this meditation if you were walking. So walking practice, whatever's comfortable for you. Just letting yourself arrive and settle. If you're sitting the back straight, inviting the shoulders to relax. Letting the hands rest in the lap or on the knees or on the thighs. Closing your eyes if that's comfortable. Letting the attention come inward. Letting your attention drop out of the thinking down and into the body. Feeling the contact with the surface beneath you. Just connecting with your breathing. You might invite the breath to deepen and take a few longer, deeper breaths to help you arrive and settle, relax into being here. Deep in breath and out breath. Calming the body, breathing in. Calming the mind as you breathe out. Releasing any tensions, any tightness, contraction as you breathe out. Energizing the body as you breathe in, relaxing as you breathe out. And letting the breath settle into its natural rhythm. Breathing in, breathing out. Inviting a smile if that's helpful to you, just to help relax the body and the mind a little more. And just bringing a receptive awareness to whatever you're experiencing right now. Kind, open-hearted, allowing of whatever is present, whatever's here right now. See if you can meet it with kindness, with appreciation, with gratitude. Take some moments to reflect on gratitude, on some things in your life that you feel grateful for, that you appreciate. People, things in your life, situations. Just taking in and the appreciation. And I'll consciously invite some reflection in different areas for you to see what comes up for you in terms of gratitude, thankfulness. You might bring to mind loved ones in your life, family members, dear friends, parents, grandparents, those that went before, going back through time, ancestors, and all that they've done, help create the conditions for you to be here, to be alive. Just invite any feelings of gratitude that come up. Could meet them with a silent thank you or a bow of namaste, thank you, appreciation. Let yourself take in any feelings that come up or any emotions that come up. You might bring awareness to this body, your body, with its senses, your eyes. They allow you to see everything around us, the beauty of nature, our loved ones, all that we take in through our eyes. Our ears, hearing each other, hearing beautiful music, sound of birds, everything that comes in through our ears. A sense of smell, taking in aromas, flowers, fresh baked bread, all that we take in through our nose, our sense of smell, a taste that we can appreciate through our sense of taste, through our feelings, through our touch, our contact of our skin with the air, with objects, with others. This body that's carried us through life. And this mind, our brain, allowing us the ability to think and reason, to remember and plan, explore, learn. Taking in whatever feelings of appreciation and gratitude come up for you. reflecting on the earth, on nature, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. This planet that we live on with this perfect combination of gases and temperature that make life possible. All of the creatures of the earth, those that fly and walk, crawl and swim. Trees and plants. And all those who support our life. Maybe that we're more conscious of in this time of pandemic. Those who grow our food, who transport it, who staff the stores we shop in, those who drive the buses and the trains, or those who keep the government going, those whose reporting keeps us informed. The nurses and doctors and health workers who are on the front lines of the COVID response. All of those who support us in our life. Just taking in whatever appreciation, gratitude comes up for you. Taking in any appreciation of the teachings of wisdom from the Buddhist tradition and other wisdom traditions, and all those who've passed on the teachings for thousands of years. Spiritual teachers and teachers in school and college, all those who've help us to see things more clearly, to understand. Just taking in any appreciation, teachings of teachers for our own practice. Of waking up, living more wisely and kindly. Taking in the gifts of community, of Sangha, the way we support each other in our practice. Just take some moments to just let whatever comes up for you, any of these areas or any other area of your life that you can feel gratitude, appreciation, thankful for what you've been given. Great Christian mystic Meister Eckhart said, if the only prayer you ever said in your whole life was thank you, that would suffice. If the only prayer you ever said in your whole life was thank you, that would suffice. Finish with this poem by John O'Donoghue, For Presence. Awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. Have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Receive encouragement when new frontiers beckon. Respond to the call of your gift and the courage to follow its path. Let the flame of anger free you of all falsity. May warmth of heart keep your presence aflame. May anxiety never linger about you. May your outer dignity mirror an inner dignity of soul. Take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. Be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. May you experience each day as a sacred gift woven around the heart of wonder. So, Emily, if you would lead us in some movement, and then we'll go have some small group discussion. Thank you. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful meditation. And let's just find our feet and gather the energy of the sky, of the sunshine and the wind, and bring it to our hearts. And gather the energy and compassion that is here, right here in this session, and bring that to your hearts. And then gather the energy of the earth, the abundance and nourishment that we receive, and bring that to your heart. Take a moment to sway and swing your arms within the space, noticing all that surrounds you. And then come to center and turn your palms out and rise up, reaching up. Clasp your right hand in your right wrist. And inhale, lift up. Exhale, tilt towards the left. Take a short breath into your right rib cage. And exhale to center. Switch wrists. Inhale, shifting up, reaching up. Exhale, tilt towards the right. Take a short breath in to the left side of your rib cage. And exhale up. Float those arms down. Allow your shoulders to move in circles. And then place your hands at the back of your waist. And as you breathe in, gather your shoulder blades together, lengthening your arms away. And exhale, relax. Inhale, gathering your shoulders together, opening up your chest. And relax. Last time, inhale, lifting your chest and head. And relax, shake it out. The last movement is a forward bend. So you place your hands above your knees. Inhale deeply here. And exhale, lower, dropping your head, your shoulders down, allowing gravity to pull your body down, releasing towards the earth. You could sway here from side to side. And come to center again. Take a deep breath in. And exhale with a sigh. And then slowly place your hands above your knees. Press on your feet and rise up. Placing your hands at heart center and lift up and open to the sky. Open to the room. And open to the earth. Thank you so much.
Just an invitation, if anyone would like to share in the chat of anything that came up for you in the small group or in the meditation or in the reflection, the talk around gratitude. Any insights, anything that you'd like to share, please feel free to do that. And maybe we'll just take a couple of minutes now if anyone would like to share something in the group as a whole. Margarita, would you like to unmute yourself, or you are unmuted? Yeah.
We were talking, and we were talking about our gratitude and how, as we lay out our gratitude, how difficult it is to cope with the guilt that comes with that.
Mm.
So if you have any ideas on that.
Now, could you share a little about, like, it was the guilt that you have that you that you have a lot and that others have less or little? Was that the guilt that you're?
Well, not monetarily necessarily, but the fact that we know maybe all of these things that are occurring, and we have so little power to do anything about it. You know, I mean, the financial, you can make donations and all that, but you know, knowing, you know, the fact that you're educated, that you have learned, that you know all of these things that are occurring, and yet you're so limited with what you can do. Basically, you know, you can support political people that you think will do a good job and promote compassion and all that, but how can you deal with that guilt?
I'm not quite getting what the guilt part of it is. I hear what you're saying, certainly about often we feel like we're powerless. We may know but not be able to do something. And I'm just wondering about the guilt part. How does that manifest as guilt? Guilt suggests like some way you shouldn't be experiencing this, or you shouldn't have what you have. And I'm wondering, does that is that what you're feeling?
Partly, yeah. You know, how did I come to be lucky enough to experience, you know, the things that I'm experiencing? I don't know. I wish the other ladies were here because then they could,
Yeah.
well, maybe they can say it, you know, they can say it better than I can.
I'll
Yeah.
chime in. This is Cheryl. I think, you know, one example is white privilege, where, you know, we're trying to learn to harness our white privilege to level the playing fields. But, you know, I have guilt about a lot of the blessings, and I'm the one who brought up the topic. From my health is great. Our economic situation is great. We have 3 healthy children. I mean, our list of blessings is endless.
Yeah.
And so many people are suffering in so many ways, partly as a result of the blessed sort of wealthy existence that we enjoy. So it's complicated.
Yeah.
But when I do my gratitude practice, what comes up for me is guilt.
I see.
So it's not always a positive experience. And I try to be generous. And the people in my group gave me some good suggestions about, you know, really acknowledging what I am doing, telling myself I do my best, being compassionate with myself. But this has been an issue for me with gratitude practice that I do every day. So if you have more thoughts, I would be grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a really important question. And I think, you know, beginning with just wise reflection, because often, you know, often guilt, I mean, there may be, you know, if there's a, you know, if it's based on genuine, you know, the realities of inequality, you know, and injustice, then I think the place to go is to hold what you're experiencing with self-compassion, with kindness, and to ask yourself, you know, what is it that I can do to help remedy, help change what needs to be changed? You know, I feel that guilt itself is not a helpful emotion and a helpful response.
No.
Not to say that one shouldn't feel guilty. You don't want to feel guilty about feeling guilty, you know, that but if we reflect on it, it's something that tends to kind of congeal a sense of a self and a bad person, and it doesn't tend to be productive of wise and compassionate action. So I think what's helpful is to meet the feelings that come up with compassion and kindness and make space for them, and reflect as wisely as you can about how might I respond to, the realities, if there are, if there are privileges that come from, injustice and historical injustice, how can I engage? What might I do? How might I, help, help kind of repair, the damages that have been done, and that comes that, I see that as a kind of wise and compassionate way of engaging, but essentially the self-compassion as, because what we're feeling is painful and difficult, and allowing ourselves to feel what we're feeling, but what would be a more helpful, what would be a wiser, kinder, more more beneficial response? There's a lot more. I mean, it's kind of a longer thing that maybe we can take up at more depth sometime, but I think. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll leave it there because I've got a couple more people wanting to share. Patricia from St. Petersburg raised her hand.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you for the wonderful teaching and meditation, and grateful for the couple of ladies that I got to be in a group with. I wanted to see if you could talk more about, I'm not sure how to ask this, but the relationship or the marrying or the balance of trauma and gratitude.
Is the question what that trauma comes up and makes it difficult to be grateful? Could you just be a little more, say a little more about?
Yes, how this thought was happening is I'm also a student of the Chopra Institute, and I was doing their new free 21-day meditation, and they were talking about an exercise of looking into the window of our lives as a child. And I was sharing with some of the ladies in the group, that a lot of us from the boomer generation grew up with some trauma. As I've mentioned before, Irish Catholic neighborhood, alcoholic parent. And how do we marry that if sometimes part of that is still coming up, and be grateful at the same time? Does that make it clearer?
Yeah, partly it does. So is the kind of the past experience, is it coming up as a barrier to feeling grateful?
Yes, I feel at times it does, because I feel it sort of hijacks, and I'm still unconsciously kind of having that piece there where, for instance, my husband, who grew up, in kind of this partridge family, it's joy in that is just organically more natural for him. It's something I feel I have to work for. Of course, like many of us, if I'm in nature or if I'm meditating or, near water, it's easier. It's kind of hard for me to explain.
Yeah. Well, one thing to, if the painful memories come up, then working, excuse me, working with them, meeting them with kindness, making enough space for them to be met, to be worked with, to be healed as much as possible. And again, that's a longer discussion of how we work with trauma, that arises. Often it's more than just kind of being with our experience, because real trauma, with real trauma, it's often impossible actually to be with our experience, because
Right.
the mind either gets overwhelmed or dissociates, kind of checks out from it. So finding the ways of being able to meet those painful experiences, I think doing some work in that area can maybe open up space for the gratitude, including the gratitude for, as the Tibetan prayer goes, for the suffering and the difficulties that have helped form who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And even within, with those difficult feelings, is it still possible to touch into and connect with feelings of gratitude for those things that come up? If the trauma isn't a kind of an absolute block, and it doesn't sound like it is, it sounds like it just comes in and kind of pulls you off into another direction. So those are some initial thoughts. There's some sharing in the chat around resources. Claude has shared. I've done a fair amount of work with body practices, somatic experiencing. Peter Levine's work, if you're interested in that, I'll put that in the chat box. His book, Waking the Tiger, yeah. Working with healing trauma. What I think I will do for time. Yeah, thank you, Patricia. And we'll please share anything else you'd like to in the chat. I haven't had a chance to read it but I will afterwards. And if anyone wants to has any particular questions, maybe just put them in there. You can address, put them to me specifically if they're private, and just put your email in there as well, and I'll save the chat. And we'll just finish with a short final meditation and then some announcements. So to invite you to sit comfortably again. Let your attention come inward. Close your eyes if you'd like to. Maybe take a deeper breath or two to help you settle and relax. And open with kindness to whatever is present for you right now. See if you can welcome the guests that are here, whatever's present in the body, in the heart, in the mind. And just in these final minutes together, maybe appreciating the gift of these teachings, these practices, appreciating any benefits they brought to you in your life. Appreciating the gift of community, of Sangha, feeling yourself here, ourselves here, together in community. You might breathe in a sense of gratitude to everyone here, to all those who helped you to find the path that you're on. To gain more peace and well-being in your life. Just to breathe in that gratitude and breathe out loving kindness to everyone here. So breathing in, thank you. Breathing out, kindness, care. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be held in loving kindness, filled with loving kindness. Share another very brief Mary Oliver poem, Instructions for Living a Life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. Appreciating our time together and this gift of community. Wishing that the benefits of our practice go out to help all beings, to help heal the suffering of the world, and be for the benefit of all beings everywhere. Just reading Robert Putnam's book, Upswing, kind of a macro history of the last 125 years in here in the United States. He quotes a very short poem from Muhammad Ali. And the poem just, he says, me, we, me, question mark, we, exclamation mark, which is kind of the theme of the book, the move from me to we, and then back to me. An interesting book, very, yeah. So I'm going to just share a couple of things about upcoming. I have a day-long at the beginning of day-long retreat, beginning of 2021. The theme is renewal and hope. It's January 9th. So if you'd like, you can join for the whole day or for the morning or for the afternoon. And I just mention that the teachings are always freely offered, not a charge or a cost for the class. But if you'd like to make an offering of dana or generosity, I think Pat will share in the chat how you can do that to support, in this case, me and the other teachers, and can support Center for Mindful Living. And it's been wonderful to be with you today, and I'll